Why does the /winsxs folder grow so large, and can it be made smaller? A Vista virtual machine I use only has a 10 GB virtual hard disk, and I'm worried about it running out of space over time. I use tree size to check for the culprits. And the primary culprit is that /winsxs or Windows side-by-side folder. What is the Windows side-by-side folder? Well, that's explained pretty well here. All of the components in the operating system are found in the winsxs folder. In fact, we call this location the component store. Each component has a unique name that includes the version, language, and processor architecture that it was built for. The winsxs folder is the only location that the component is found on the system. All other instances of the files that you see on the system are projected by hard linking from the component store. Let me repeat that last point. There is only one instance, or full data copy, of each version of each file in the OS, and that instance is located in the winsxs folder. So looked at from that perspective, the winsxs folder is really the entirety of the whole OS, referred to as a flat and down level operating systems. This also accounts for why you will no longer be prompted for media when running operations such as System File Checker, SFC, or when installing additional features and roles. That explains why the folder starts off big, but not why it gets larger over time. The answer to that question is servicing. In previous versions of Windows, the atomic unit of servicing was the file. In Windows Vista, it's the component. When we update a particular binary, we release a new version of the whole component, and that new version is stored alongside the original one in the component store. The higher version of the component is projected onto the system, but the older version in the store isn't touched. The reason for that is the third part of why the component store gets so large. Lots of other people complaining about the size of the /winsxs folder, too. A coworker recently received his every 2-year work laptop refresh and was in the middle of loading his new laptop with Vista. For some reason, his hard drive C was partitioned to only 25 GB and the rest of the space reserved for a much larger drive D. Anyway, after loading many Windows updates, he was left with hardly any drive space left on C, and for some reason, the winsxs directory had ballooned to over 8 GB. While I knew what the winsxs, Windows side-by-side, directory was for, I wasn't quite sure why that directory would explode in size so fast with normal operating system updates. I don't really care about having all these duplicate files for safety, but I do care about the VM exploding due to an out-of-disk space error. So, can /winsxs be safely pared down in any way? It doesn't seem that it can be. Administrators should not, for any reason, take it upon themselves to clean out the /winsxs directory. Doing so may prevent Windows Update and MC from functioning properly afterwards. Preventing accidental deletion from the directory is accomplished by putting a strong security descriptor on the directory that inherits to its children. If this /winsxs folder gets any larger, I'm going to have to re-image this virtual machine. Which I really don't want to do.
Looks like there is finally a way to do this in Windows 8.1 Service Pack 1 and Windows Server 2012 R2. Component Store Analysis Tool. dism.exe/online/cleanup image/analyze component store. At the end of the scan, the user gets a report of the results, actual size of the winsxs folder, like this. Component Store Cleanup. Today, Component Store Cleanup must be triggered manually by an end user, either by running dism, or by using the disk cleanup wizard. In order to make Component Store Cleanup more useful for the average end user, it will be added into a maintenance task, automatically saving disk space for end users. To enable this, a change will be made to allow an installation of superseded inbox drivers without requiring a reboot. Today, All driver installs/uninstalls done by CBS require a reboot. dism.exe/online/cleanup image/start component cleanup. Disk cleanup tool, cleanup system files button. stats.exe/run/tn/microsoft/windows/servicing/start component cleanup.
There is a nice command that cleans up after a Windows 7 SP1 installation. It saved me around 3 GB. Must be executed from an elevated command prompt.
TL, drive. winsxs actually contains hard links. It does not take up as much additional data as you think. A hard link is like a shortcut or pointer to an actual file located somewhere on your disk. A hard link does not take up any hard drive space by itself, it merely serves as a redirect. Because winsxs consists of hard links, deleting these links will not free any space. The actual files will continue to remain in various locations on your disk. winsxs is not a problem. It's a solution. Well, mostly. A summary, marked as answer by Ronnie Vernon, MVP, moderator, says here. Wow, long discussion about hard links and winsxs. Anyway, here are some summarized points of what I understood about how all of it works. To start by answering the ops question with the perfect answer posted above by Andre.Ziegler, you don't touch winsxs. Maybe some of the files can be trimmed like the MP3s, RVs, etc., but the rest of the system files should be left alone. I too am using linked shell extension as posted above by Ronnie Vernon, easy way to see which are hard linked, red arrow, and which are simple files. Before getting here, I saw in a lot of places people asking for the cleanup tool after installing SP1 for Windows 7 like VSP1CLN. There is no dedicated tool, it all got integrated into the disk cleanup service. One note that I would make here is that even if the option says it will remove a few hundreds of MB after I cleaned up my drive, the service removed around 3 GB of excess files, so it varies from system to system. Funny, now I have even more space than I had before installing SP1. Nice one, Ms. Regarding the hard links, I got amused by the confusion created around them. I'm not a Linux geek, and I usually use only soft links. They're enough for me, but people didn't get how the hard ones work and how size is counted. A group of selected files, links or not, will always be counted as a sum. This means that if I take a 10 MB file, and make 2 hard links, the selection of all 3 of them will have 30 MB, and this is the correct size, because unlike the soft links which are related to the file's original master file table entry and have 0 bytes, hard links are related to the data itself, have their own entry in MFT but point to the same data address, obviously having a size the size of the actual data, same times, attributes and so on. Why, below? How much is left on the drive? Simple, exactly as much as the drive's own properties reports. Don't go selecting all the files, hidden and non-hidden on C and making comparisons, or using tools that do that automatically because it won't show the actual HDD usage. Why? Because that operation makes a list of all the selected files including hard links as separate files, takes each of them and adds the sizes up. The drive's properties counts the actual stored data. Not all the files will be counted. Folders protected from traversing and files from reading will not be counted, and the system volume information usually has very large files protected just in this manner. That number is useful only in cases of file transfer. If the files, links, etc. need to be copied to DVD or NAS, that's how much they would occupy, and the links will not be preserved since they are NTFS specific features, not available or available in different forms under ISO, UDF, NFS and other file systems, but they will be cloned. Make a test. Copy a 10 MB file, a.x, from a different drive and notice how the free space drops by the 10 MB. Make a hard link, link/hb.xa.x. Now these two files selected will use 20 MB in the selection properties, but actually only 10 MB verified at the drive's properties, which will have the same free space as it did /does after the file copy. Delete 1, the free space will remain the same. Now delete the last one and the space will increase by 10 MB. Was there any harm done? No. What is winsxs? A much better dilcake. Where with the dilcake in XV we had copies of files that actually added to the size usage since they were cloned. This actually improves usage but not total protection against viruses. If a rogue uninstaller thinks it has to remove some runtime libs from System32, it would only delete the links, but not the data. Then the links would be recreated while keeping data space usage at lowest possible, better than archiving winsxs in cabs and having the cabs alongside the original files. Also winsxs brings serialization, compartmentalizing files with the same name but different version, for the dev's sake, which is a good thing. Bad thing, it makes them lazy to code properly, but it helps when they don't want to code anymore. I did this to help anyone that lands here out of the same reasons I did. Excessive usage of space by winsxs after SP1. And I hope it was helpful.
These duplicates and backups are extremely annoying when having limited disk space. Being in that place, the only way I found that would not jeopardize the OS stability was to generously use the compress contents to save disk space setting. By compressing all those backup directories under the Windows directory, I was able to reduce the directory size from 6.5 GB to 5 GB, with no recognizable side effects. Using it on some of your stuff outside the window directory would stretch your 10 GB even more.
If you want to support the channel, please consider subscribing.